there, everybody. Let's see if I can go ahead and make this where it's a little bit better for the stream. There we go. That's much better. Alrighty. Let's see, can I make it even better? Nope, it just... Okay, it stays the same. I just change the aspect ratio of what it's displaying. Okay, hi Jen, nice to see you on. Alrighty, just making sure everything's in place and running. Nice to see you on too, Gwendolyn. Alrighty, I think we're ready to start. And 1 and 2 and 3 under 3 over 4. Well, if you folks are on one of the Rob or Ian's Discords, you probably saw that this braid is now going to be going to Emily D. Baker, which seems appropriate given the purple in the braid. Admittedly, I don't watch all that much of Emily's content, but that's mostly due to the fact that I don't really have all that much time left over from the stuff I am watching to catch her stuff all the time. But I do enjoy the streams that group streams that she's on that I see her on, so I figured it'd be a nice thing to do. And let's see, what else was there? In a little bit, I'll go ahead and show you where I am in the completed printing parts for the odometer thing. So, and it looks like I've kind of reached the critical mass where I'm adding usually at least one new subscriber a day, and sometimes several. So that's nice when that happens. I posted on Twitter when I hit 666 subscriptions. I'm now at like 674, so it was only a few days ago. So, woohoo! Still progressing. So I'm still thinking of other people to do custom braids for. I'm not going to do it right away, but I think I will eventually do a custom braid for Emily. Other people I've been considering are like Danny On and Kurt from Uncivil Law. Steve Gosney, maybe. I think maybe he might like a D&D themed one. I'll have to see if I can ask him. But the people I'm willing to or want to do these braids for are kind of starting to add up, and I'm hoping I'll be able to get to them fairly quickly. One of the things I'm hoping is time goes forward, I'll have more time to be able to do these and be able to pick up my speed, get more skilled, and that type of thing. Oops, that one had a couple jump over there. And 1 and 2.5 over 4 under 3. And it is really freaking hot in this room. Whoops. This one didn't come untied, it just came unrolled. So let's see. Let's go ahead and re-roll this one. Yeah, sometimes when it pops off over the knot, it tends to jump a significant amount. So when I re-roll it, I'll make sure to not include the knot over to the thread. And that should keep it from unrolling too fast on its own, or at least making a floor dive. All right, so, okay, so I did all this side, ready to do this side. And 1, 2, 3, 4 under 3, over 4. So I should be able to get at least one stream this weekend, maybe two. I might do a long one. Depends on how things are going. I've got some wooden signs I need to engrave for my summer vacation, and I need to get those done in like the next couple of weeks, or they're not going to get done at all. And I think I've pretty much resigned myself to I'm not going to get more than maybe one or two Takadais made for Penzik. I'm hoping to shift gears to the point where after I get back, I'll turn several out at a time and then just keep going slowly as time goes on and build up the stock. And 1 and 2 and 3, under 3, over 4. But currently, Social Blade is predicting I'll hit 1,000 subscribers somewhere in the next 4 or 5 months or so. And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, under 3, over 4. For those of you who enjoyed Ian reading from that crazy lawsuit from the guy who was bragging about his LSAT scores, he went ahead and did a discrete video that was like about 17 minutes long, where he went over the highlights without a lot of, just reading along, describing it as contender for one of the worst lawsuits ever. Caught that before coming on stream tonight. And if you haven't seen it, you're interested in the snark, it's quite amusing. And, okay. And 1 and 2 and 3, under 3, over 4. Actually, if he gets laughed out of court, that's probably the ideal outcome. Because it wouldn't surprise me if a judge that doesn't like current status of the way the law looks like it's going may try and use it to establish less than ideal precedent involved. So that's one of the things that a lot of people, I don't know if a lot, but at least some people I know don't seem to understand, is that if you push a bad case, you may not just lose, you may make everybody lose. Though fortunately, that tends to be only when it gets pushed to appeal level courts. As I understand it, admittedly not a lawyer and don't have an extensive understanding of the law, but entry-level courts, you lose your case, it might suck for you, but if you don't push it to the appeals level, it'll only suck for you and not for everybody. Which is why they try and be careful as far as groups that advocate for certain aspects of law. They try and get the right case to be presented to where, just a second here, I need to be a little higher up. Okay. You need to have like a very clear, narrow point of contention that the court would be willing to say, okay, yeah, you're right here. Where it's not like a big sweeping change. It's just like, okay, for this particular case, these types of things, this is actually the rule which should be applied, or this is the legal justification you have to reach. And sorry, my brain's kind of stuttering a bit here. Trying to do a couple things at once. But yeah, you want narrow points of law that you can build on. So you have a case, you get part A that you want down. Maybe a year or two later, you have another narrowly tailored case where you're only trying to address one specific thing. And you get part C done, and then eventually you get part B in. And then when you've got all those together, going from there, actually, this is not right. I have grabbed the wrong one. Okay, 2 and 2. Ah. All right, so did one too many, so let's try. Okay. One and one. Okay. Let's try to scan. 1, 2, 3, 4, under 3, over 4. So anyway, when you get those in place, then the point that you really wanted to get to down the road, point D, is no longer a giant step, it's just an incremental step. But the crazy people who say, no, it has to be this way, and you're going to have to listen to me. One of the things that I think most of us on here know, you'll find out if you don't, is that the court doesn't really have to listen to you most of the time. Especially not if you don't argue your case well. And even when you do, they don't always have to listen to you. I think that's one of the things that makes sovereign citizens so crazy is that they may be right along the lines of, hey, this point of law should be the case. But if that's not the way the courts have been ruling, just saying you have to do this won't get you very far. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to ramble too much on that. Well, I don't seem to have driven anybody away with that rant. But yeah, in Pennsylvania, I talked about this case with Ian. There was a guy that really was annoying his local law enforcement and courts, and they did something to get back at him by revoking his license to carry firearms. And when that happened to him, he decided that because he carried one from another state, he was covered under a law, which the reasonable interpretation was that yes, he was, but because he was a jerk to all the local law enforcement and courts in his area, he pushed back against that, and they said, "Oh, you're going to push back against us? All right, we'll just make sure that our interpretation that the state goes for is that your interpretation is the wrong one." And so everybody who might have been covered under that law and saved them from, having problems with law enforcement or whatever, like, they're transporting a firearm from like their house to their grandparents' house where they're going to live with them and whatever, and they want them to be safe, but it's not their primary residence. Might get pulled over and have a problem. If they had a license from a different state, they'd be fine, but now they're not, and nobody in the future will be too. So Now, speaking of things that are frustrating, um, I don't know if anybody here listens to like the various different uh, r slash or Reddit readers who go through the stories for like malicious compliance. Am I the bad guy? Those types of streams. Oops, time for coma slide. One of the ones I've been listening to has been getting more and more frustrating. Um, I like the voice and diction of the reader for that channel. It's Red Wheel is what I'm talking about. So I've listened to them a lot. They were one of the first ones I started listening to. But lately, you do like 2 or 3 videos a day. They've been reading stories where they get like halfway through what should be, one of the standard types of stories or whatnot, and they just stop in the middle. It's not resolved. It's, there's no final outcome. It's like this was their first post on it, and normally what they would do is they would wait until there's been some updates or some resolution, or if the person who's writing the story or submitting the story, gives the whole story and whatnot. It's like they only read like half of the story, or they read it before things can be resolved one way or the other, and it is entirely unsatisfying. It's like reading through a book, and about 2/3 of the way through, you suddenly realize that there was a misprint, and the rest of the book is blank. And I just find that highly irritating, and just don't want to subject myself to that. If I'm going to listen to the story, I'd like to hear it to the end. And they don't tell you where the stories are. I mean, they don't give you links to the post or anything like that on Red Wheel. So it's like, okay, well, I've heard the start of the story. I have no way to follow it up unless I want to like scour through the different subforums on Reddit, figure out where it came from, and then save that and see what happens down the road. So just very unsatisfying experience the last month or two. And looking through their most recent videos comments, I see I'm not the only one. So if they keep that up, I think I'm just going to stop listening to them. I haven't actually subscribed to them, but since I've got YouTube Premium, when I do listen to them, they do get income from that. So anyway, rant for the evening. If any of you folks have seen Stargate Universe, the pilot where the one of the main characters solves the puzzle that nobody's been able to do to open up the ability to do a knight's chevron unlocking or something like that. He finishes up the puzzle, and then he's back at the beginning, and his comment was, "That was extremely unsatisfying." So, all right. Well, I haven't made too many mistakes so far. Today, I went ahead and tried the slightly higher dosage for Provigil. And it seems to be helping some, though not exactly where I was hoping. So I'm going to try and make sure to get a lot of sleep the next few days and see if I can't get enough rest to make it more effective. And if that doesn't work, I think I'll have to give the sleep doctor a call and see what he would like me to do going forward. I'm also looking forward to tomorrow morning because I get to see the podiatrist and see if I can't get my heel fixed so I can exercise more and I don't have to limp all the time when I'm going around walking. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that, Jen. Yeah, that's sad and disappointing both. I think I've mentioned it before on the stream that I listen to, the Writers Dojo podcast. It's hosted by Larry Correia and Steve Diamond. Um, One of the things they've talked about is that given the last decade or so, where some very popular mainstream authors have kind of left their series hanging and just haven't finished them, and as a result, a lot of people don't want to start epic fantasy series when they're only one or two books out because they're afraid that it's never going to end and it'll just sit there forever. And while the couple of big name people have done that, they're not the majority of the field. And when writing multi-book series, if people don't buy the first couple of books as they come out, the author's never going to be able to finish it because the publishing houses won't keep buying the books because they don't sell well. And Larry Correia has a large enough following that even though he's doing an epic fantasy, he's got a strong enough fan base that his books will sell because of who he is. So he's able to do his, but he also knows other authors who are kind of on the cusp of that, where they were starting out, they were doing an epic fantasy where they were 2 books in, and it's I don't know what's going on. The books aren't selling really well, but they finally got to the third or fourth and final book of that particular series, and then suddenly, once it's done, they have a major sales spike because the series is finished. I'm willing to read it now, and they're letting people know that if they would like epic fantasy to continue as a genre, they're going to have to buy books and risk the chance that it might not, the series they're reading might not actually get finished, because if they don't do it, they aren't going to get any more ever again. Unless, a big name author who has a dedicated fan base and people buy it because of who they are, does one. And that's just going to kind of kill off that particular genre. So anyway, yeah, okay. Just making sure I know where I am. But that's also one of the reasons why I actually, for authors I like, and for I like a lot of web comics and stuff like that. I actually do financial contributions to them through Patreon and other sources because I like their work and I want them to keep doing it. And if they don't find a way to get paid for it, they're not going to be able to. So anyway, that's my support your local artist speech. And 1 and 2 and 3 under 3 over 4. Yep. Though self-publishing is also a problem if you're doing it and you don't already have a stable income from it, in that writing is actually a fair amount of work, and if you got to have a day job, that slows you way down. And sometimes it's I like doing it, but it's a lot of time. I don't make any money, or don't really make a lot of money from it. So yeah, it's still, even in the self-publishing, it's still somewhat chicken and the egg. Not to say you can't do it, but it'll take you a lot longer before you can become successful. I also like quite a bit of science fiction. As long as it's well written. I like science fiction, fantasy, urban fantasy, hard science fiction, space opera. I mean, I can think of books in all of those genres that I really, really enjoy. The Expanse is mostly hard sci-fi, especially the way they did the TV shows. They did a pretty good job of that. I mean, admittedly, there's some kind of there's the space opera side of it, but the how things work in space and whatnot is really good. Also liked a lot of the Ben Bova and Greg Bear books, where it's like, let's take what we know, make it as closest to what we think is the actual physical case that we can, and see how far we can push it. I like David Weber's books. Admittedly, a lot of my heavy reading was when I was a fair amount younger, but I enjoyed it. I enjoy the storytelling. I enjoy the worlds I can create in my mind from that. It also helps that when I read or listen to audiobooks, um, speaking of internal monologue and uh, mind's eye visualization, when I read or listen to a book, I get a essentially movie quality video of it in my head, which sometimes when they do make it into movies and whatnot is kind of jarring because it's like, no, that's not right. But yeah. But to give you an idea how much I am into reading, when I was in the third grade, uh, I entered into a readathon and unfortunately thought that you had to get all of your sponsors before you could start reading. So I only had 10 days once my parents told me that, you need to start reading soon. And okay, I'm doing that wrong. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I did that. Okay. 1, 2, 3, over 4, under 3. So in 10 days, I read 94 books. I was in I said I was in third grade. This was in Billings, Montana. And so 94 books in 10 days. That is not right. I have done something wrong. All right, let's back up. Okay. 3 and 1. Ah. That's what I did wrong. I didn't do the second half on here. I didn't do the first half. Yeah. So let's 5 and 5. Okay, so 1, 2. Give me a second here. Okay, that's where that should be. All right, so 1 and 1, 3 and 3, 1, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. All right. I think I know where I am. Okay. 1, 2, 3, under 3, over 4. Okay, that looks right. And 1, 2, 1.5 over 4 under 3. Okay, that looks right. Anyway, fortunately for people in my neighborhood, they all had a pretty good idea of how much I actually read. The minimum people were supposed to pledge per book for the readathon for multiple sclerosis was 25 cents a book. I only had 2 people that did that. Most people had pledged a nickel or a dime. And there was one person, I think, who pledged $5 a book. They never answered the door after that. But I think I collected a couple $100 back in, this would have been 1977, 1976, somewhere around there. Anyway, let me catch up with the chat real quick. Yep, I like the ship who sang. That was Anne McCaffrey? I have to look it up, but that I think that was Anne McCaffrey. Or was it Andre Norton? I think Anne McCaffrey. I'll have to think about that. Excuse me, trying not to cough here. Okay, so all right. Still know where I am. 1 and 2 and 3 under 3 over 4. Yeah, I think my first book that I can remember reading that was either science fiction or fantasy was when I was like 7 years old. I think it was second grade. I read a lot of shorter books, but I finally started reading Lord of the Rings. That kind of opened up my interest in fantasy. Oh, I like Mercedes Lackey as well. As a matter of fact, in the SCA, the household I'm in, the Great Dark Horde, Mercedes Lackey is a member of that group, though she doesn't really make it to SCA events anymore. I think it's probably been close to 20 years or more, but she's still a member. And there are people I know in it who talk to her occasionally. But the writing really, as I understand it, and the falconry is kind of taken over their lives. And they are getting up there in age, but her and Dixon. But yeah, I read a lot of Mercedes Lackey. I forget exactly when I stopped keeping up with the Valdemar series, but it was like, I think 4 or 5 series into it. I also liked some of the songs that. Now I'm blanking on her name. Good folk singer, but her voice is extremely harsh. I'll have to look it up real quick sometime and see what it is. But there were a couple of tapes of Valdemar related songs that I enjoyed listening to a lot in my 30s, I think it was. Oops, time for coma slide. Let me take a quick pause real quick here and I'll see if I can't look it up. Okay, it is Leslie Fish. That's who I was thinking of. Leslie Fish and a couple other people did a nice series of tapes. The one song I know that she does, I know for certain that she does, is Carmen Miranda's Ghost, um, which is also a fun song. Okay. You can find, I think, a lot of them on YouTube if you want to listen to them. But let me take a quick pause here and show you where I am on the odometer. Let me go full screen for this. There we go. So let's see if I can get this to work correctly. Great. Okay. Oops. There we go. All right. So for the odometer, actually, let me do it this way since you guys will see it the way I do. Oops. I went the wrong way. I'm starting to think the drive gear might be a good idea. Let's bring that back in. And there we go. This, the thing that's up now is the combination / drive gear. Oh, looks like we're down to 2. People are having dinner or something. Okay, 3 people watching on Rumble. That's good. Okay, let's get back to braiding. See if I can't focus a little more. And 1 and 2 and 3. I'm actually kind of afraid that it's the heat that's making it hard for me to think right now, since I do not do well in heat. I got the fan on full blast, so I hope you guys are still able to hear me okay. I gotta get an AC unit ordered for the shop fairly soon. It's gonna kind of stretch the budget, but I think I can swing it. And then probably have the braiding streams from out there until it cools down again. It's there. And 1 and 2, 3.5 over 4 under 3. The next person I was thinking of doing a braid for after Rob was Robert Barnes, but when I extended the offer on one of his live streams, he seemed like, it's like, oh, that's neat, but it didn't sound like he was really going to give me any idea of what he would like to do. So I'm probably going to have to spend some time watching some of his stuff to get a better idea of the symbols or designs that he would appreciate on it, without having to bug him for that information. And so I'm thinking I might do somebody else before him. I was hoping to do Gary from Rodrick, but haven't been able to get in contact with him. So I'm thinking maybe Kurt from Lawn Lumber, or possibly either maybe Danny on, or maybe do her after Kurt. Maybe somebody else. I'm still kind of thinking about it. But if you guys come up with somebody you think would love it, feel free to add it to the comments section so I can review it later and save it. because I don't always go back and go through the chat again, unfortunately. Woohoo! Hey, welcome, Filthy Casual Gamer. Nice to see you on. I know Rackets was supposed to be going on vacation this week, but it kind of expected more information because I thought he was going to have like something on Monday maybe or whatever, but it's like he just dropped off and was like, he gone. I've also been keeping track of the court docket for his case and still haven't seen anything since like the 2nd of May when the opposing counsel said, "Oh no, you can ignore everything that they just said in rebuttal. It's not important. We took care of it. Honest. You don't need to take notice of the ethical violations and lies that we've made to the court." Missed one thread there. There we go. At least that's my interpretation of what that filing was. I could be entirely wrong. Not a lawyer. And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 under 3 over 4. I've been going about 45 minutes. It's pretty decent speed. And 1 and 2 and 3.5 over 4 under 3. But yeah, I'm starting to get pretty close to the end on this. If I do probably one more stream, regular length, maybe on Friday, and a Saturday or Sunday 2 or 3 hour stream, I should probably get really close to getting this one done, which means I need to get that braiding, the warping stand made up real quick. I've got it ready to start drilling and screwing the pieces together. I got to sand and lacquer it, and that should be good to go. So I'm still on track for that. So I can theoretically start on Rob's braid sometime early next week. There we go. Sorry about, let's see. Okay. Yeah, I need to do that soon. Checking in with my folks. Both of them are still around, which I'm appreciative of the fact. And we do have on the third Sunday of every month, we have like about an hour-long Zoom meeting with them and me and my 3 sisters, which is nice because I live in Pennsylvania. One of my sisters lives in Mississippi. Another one lives in Utah, and the third one lives in the same area as my folks do in Idaho. So it's hard to get us all together at once without a lot in airfare. And the last time I flew out on the way back, I caught COVID, which was really frustrating. And 1, 2, and 3, which was the first time I've caught COVID since it came out. My wife works as a custodian at a high school on the overnights. And as a result, my immune system has been fairly well trained by her for most things. First year or 2 I lived with her, I tended to get sick a lot. And then after that, I don't really get sick much at all anymore, which is nice because I do not like being sick. I wouldn't mind spending the day in bed reading a good book and the like, but when you're in bed, you're miserable. You've slept so much you can't sleep, but you're not really awake or with it. It's just kind of miserable. 1 and 2, 3.5 over 4 under 3. I'll probably go a little bit over an hour, but not a whole lot. I normally have Fridays off, but I've been offered an overtime shift, which I need to take because Memorial Day was a couple hours short, and I missed an entire day on the previous paycheck because of working the election. So, got to get those hours in. But I will admit, for this job, I enjoy it a lot more than the last one, where I was able to work 70 hours a week occasionally, which was nice on the paycheck, but sucked for everything else. And I didn't seem to notice it much at the time, but my roommate says that at the previous job, I was absolutely miserable. And I actually enjoy this current job. I'm learning new things. I'm doing new things, and it's fun. And the things I'm learning and doing are applicable for a whole bunch of other stuff, which is also nice. Oh yeah, definitely want to stay inside with good air conditioning. I'm hoping maybe next year or so, I can finally get air conditioning installed in the house so that it's not so miserable for me. I'm only 54, and every year the heat in the summer gets worse and worse for me. And I know as you get older, you deal with it less well. There's the old comment of, you know, air conditioning. They didn't used to have air conditioning, and they made it. It's like, yeah, but when they got older, a lot of people died in heat waves. Sorry, sore subject with me. I apologize. I'll shut up about it now. Yeah, this one had AC, but when we bought it and moved in, the AC was not working, and we just never got it fixed. And eventually, we just ripped the old one out because the previous people had been kind of snookered. They got a high pressure, low cross section AC system that's designed to be retrofitted into houses that don't have room for ducts. And this one does have room for ducts, but they went ahead and did a kind of like hydro system out of the basement with small vents like this big and insulated flexible hoses that would go in the basement along the ceiling and come up in different spots in the floor. So, but I'd like to get maybe a mini split system uh, installed because my wife does not like the ducted stuff. Makes her essentially like car sick when she smells it, which I figure is probably something mold related. But the mini split system, as I understand it, doesn't really have the ducts where you can have mold and stuff build up in it, or it has that smell that makes her nauseous. Car AC really is uncomfortable for her. So, just trying to find a workable compromise. Let's roll this one up again. Hope that's not the same one. It's 2 and 2, 4, okay. And 1 and 2 and 3.5. Oops. Okay, yep, that's right. Over 4, under 3. Okay, pattern still looks good on the top. Let's take a quick check on the bottom. That also looks good. Well, my understanding of the way the mini splits work is instead of ducting cold air from your compressor into wherever you want it, the compressor pipes the refrigerant through an insulated pipe into the, from outside the house into the house. And then you have a wall unit that, it does blow, but there's like no ducting. It's just you have a fan blowing over the elements there for cold air, and you don't have a place to build up. To generate a favorable environment for stuff to grow. It also has the advantage of apparently being one of the more efficient ways to use AC, and a lot of places are doing that now, so the cost of the equipment has been coming down. I'm going to try and install one of those on my garage, which will hopefully be a test case or test bed so that my wife has a chance to experience it and realize that hopefully we'll realize that it doesn't make her sick, hopefully it doesn't make her sick, so that we can settle on that as an upgrade for the house. And if it doesn't work, at least I've got a room that I can go to. Worst case scenario, I'll set up a cot for the summer in there and sleep out there until the weather cools enough I can go back in the house. That'll really force me to get the shop in shape. Yep, I am aware, but I'm working with what I'm able to work with. Okay, let's see, is there still trying to bring the mouse over to move to the next move? It's time for a coma slide. That's what I was trying to say. And 1 and 2 and 3 under 3 over 4. It's kind of amusing when I look at my Twitter view statistics for the tweets I do. When I do it, I can get like reliably somewhere between like 5 and 15 people who will look at it within a day or so. If Rob or Ian retweets it, I can get like 3,000 to 5,000 in like 2 days, and it's just, admittedly, they have orders of magnitude more people that follow them than would follow me, but still, it's nice when I get the occasional boost. I try not to tag them too much because I don't want to be a pain in the butt. And I appreciate every time they do retweet because they're decent guys like that. And 1, 2, 3 under 3 over 4. And 1 and 2 under 3, or 2.5 over 4 under 3. And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 under 3 over 4. Okay, well, at least this one's purple, so I know it's not the same one. No. Hopefully I only have to do this about once per tama at most. All right. One of the fun things I tend to enjoy when I read fantasy stories is finding out that when all is said and done at the end of the book or series, you realize that it's presented as a fantasy story, but it's actually a science fiction story. Okay. There was a Jack L. Chalker series. At least when I started, it seemed like it was a fantasy story, but when you finally got to the prequel book for it, you realize it was entirely science fiction. And like the last of the last book of the main series. And that was not the right one to move. That was, yep, that looks better. Okay, 1, 1. Okay. And 1 and 2 and 3 under 3 over 4. When I first started reading Jack L. Chalker, I kind of enjoyed the stories. They were interesting concepts and the like. But after reading a couple of series by him, a lot of them turned out to be essentially different ways to mutate humans into another form, and how much better those new forms were better at passionate hugging, as they say in the YouTube parlance. So, and if it was well written, I probably wouldn't mind it that much, but it tended to be kind of like dry technical manuals as opposed to engaging prose. But he sold books and people liked his work. I just was not something that I really found interesting after the first couple of renditions of the same tropes in his books. Hey, Bane, nice to see you on. Hope you're having a good day. Hope it's not too hot mowing the grass. Hopefully, there are not too many fires in your area and the air quality is pretty decent. If I remember right, Ian did a video about people who were evacuating in front of the fires, and the local police or whatever, uh, one of the enforcement agencies, said that they were allowing people to transport their firearms that they're not normally allowed to transport in the emergency situation, and that they could, as long as they moved them and then got a hold of the police and let them know where they were, they would be fine. Um, which is probably allowable under discretion, but apparently the law enforcement agency in question does not have the ability to issue the exemptions that they're saying that they are. So while they may not prosecute you, um, the defenses, if they do decide to, are not great defenses like detrimental reliance type defenses. So. Okay, so annoying air, not horrible air, and relatively safe. Oh, excuse me. I'd say the Pro Vigil is pretty much worn off at this point. Um, so hopefully the air improves and none of the hazardous stuff starts moving in your direction. Yeah, my throat's getting a bit dry, and as the yawn demonstrates, I'm also getting sleepy. So. Yep, I like Ian's content. I'm also keeping up with the streams, and I'm also keeping up with the tracking on his package, which, as of the last several days, just says it's left the U.S., but doesn't say it's entered Canada yet. So I'm hoping it gets to him relatively soon, and it's just somebody's being lazy with the scanning, and it's not sitting in some clearing warehouse on the border waiting to make it through customs. But I'm hoping he'll get it by Monday so he can have it on his own stream when he opens it up. Since apparently there's going to be no Friday Night Frenzy this Friday, so I might go ahead and do my own stream uh, later in the evening Friday. Uh, since I won't be interfering with him. And I know in the YouTube world, it's giving me a heart attack every time it does that. At least the color is different each time, so I know it's not the same one over and over. What I might do after the stream, before the next one, is undo all of these tama past the knot to the leader, so that they don't slip over it and then just drop because they can't reset properly before gravity takes hold. There we go. All right, so 2 and 2, 3. Okay, one more on the top. 1 and 2 and 3 and a half over 4 under 3. But yeah, what I was trying to say is in the YouTube space, I know streaming against somebody else is not a horrible faux pas. It's like there's only so many hours in the day, and there's quite a few more streamers than that. So, I mean, there's times where, like, for specific things, you try not to step on them when you have a lot of the same audience. Um, Other times, it's just like, hey, you stream when you can, and hopefully the people who want to watch you can watch you, and the others who don't. I would prefer watching somebody else watch the other person. So, as they say, it's all good. 4, 4, 2, 3. Okay. So 1 and 2 and a half over 4 under 3. And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And as they say, please like, subscribe, share, leave a comment, tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell the annoying neighbor down the street that's part of the HOA. Not that they'll come and watch, but they'll be annoyed that you do. Alrighty. So I think that's a good place to stop. We've been just a little over an hour. We've had some nice chats. Let me catch up on the chat. All right, so let's see. Yeah, I just keep checking it, and hey, if he gets it and does it before I read it, if I see it on stream, I'll be good with him getting it, even if I don't get the tracking update. All right, let's see. Anything else? Yep, I've run into that before Bane as far as the sudden updates. I when I was doing a lot more with computer equipment, I would be trading some of my used power supplies and stuff like that to some people in Canada. So that's a fair amount, Glenwood. Yep. As far as the courier, as I understand it, some of those places wait until they get a large enough batch to process over through customs to where they save money as opposed to doing it individually. That's one of the reasons why I sent post rather than courier, um, like UPS, because the post office handles the brokerage or whatever. They don't have to do it. So when the package arrives, the recipient doesn't wind up with like a ridiculous bill that has happened with several people I know when they used UPS. They got like a $20 part that somebody sent to them, and they got like $80 in brokerage fees or clearinghouse fees or whatever to get it across the border, and that sucks. Yeah, that's what listening at 1.5 or 1.75 or even 2 times speed helps a lot. You can catch up. Alrighty, I'm starting to drift, so I'm going to let you guys go. Thank you very much. Why, thank you, Jen. I'm in good company there. You guys have a new. You guys have a good evening. Stay safe. Happy braiding.